I think the best way to describe it is as a methodology. So it's not the only way to change the world, but it is a way. And as someone who's tried to tackle issues like neoliberal austerity, poverty, inequality for decades now, I think in the past I've always approached it with just a lot of hope and haven't had a thought out plan of how you go about doing it. So for me, community organising is the methodology that citizens use to move from that crisis response, that stick and plaster, to try and bring about transformative change in communities.
And it's an organisation that's got a history. It goes back to the civil rights movement in the States. It's had a long history in the UK, and then it's come recently to the different cities outside London.
The key thing about that is that within educations of civic society, so whether you're in education, community or a faith group, on our own we don't have a lot of power to bring about the kind of changes that the book discusses. And what's very deliberative within community organising is that if you want change, you have to have power, and you have to deliberately build that power if you want to bring about the changes that you're seeking. And the only kind of power we have really is people power and is relational power. You know, we often don't have the other kind of like power over types of power. It's power with people. And so we can't do it on our own. We have to work in an alliance with other institutions who are very different at our own. But collectively we have the power, which means that we can then have that transformative change. But it means you have to agree to disagree on lots of things and focus your time and your energy into the things that we agree on that we think needs changing in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem that we're trying to be the kind of answer to in terms of what our chapter is about the fact that people, citizens, are rarely involved in transformative changes, are they? Really? I mean, if they're lucky, they get services, or if they're lucky, they can get on to try and protest or do things or try and solve things in their communities, different small kind of problems. But actually, people being involved in transformative solutions is what citizens is kind of the answer to.
Absolutely, and I think like a lot of things are a done to type of approach. So as somebody who grew up in poverty, like a lot of the solutions around economic inequality and poverty are very much done to people. If you look at like the food bank responses, they're crucial responses. Don't get me wrong, I'm not being critical of crisis responses. They're crucial and needed. If someone's hungry, they need to be fed. But we don't want to be in a situation where Newcastle at the moment has the biggest used food bank in the country. We don't want that food bank to be there. We don't want the need for the food bank to be there. So how do we move beyond that to actually tackle the issue? You've got to work with people who use food banks. Why is it a need? What are the underlying issues, and how do we start to address that together? And I think that's what's magical about community organising. Is it starts with listening, it starts with people's lived experiences, and then they are the people that have to lead that change themselves, which is a big challenge for a place like a university that is expert in so many things and has a lot more power than somebody using a food bank. Like, how do you bring all of that together? And I think we have managed to do that.